What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dr. Dude's Diner. Um, Today is a little different. I'm making enchiladas, except I'm getting the recipe out of my good friend, Cowboy Kent Robbins, whom I've never met, but hopefully one of these days I will. But he has a homemade red sauce enchilada recipe. And I'm just curious, is it good? Everything I've cooked from his books thus far has been delicious. So, let's see what we need. We need 12 Ancho chilies. Just because we're going to make our own enchilada sauce. So I've already counted these guys out. I have 12 exactly in here. Thank goodness. And I just have a bowl here just so I can de-seed these chilies. Now all the seeds don't need to come out 100%. But the best way to de-seed these things, when it's whole like this, chop off the top right near the stem. Okay. You do not want that chili to go to waste. So try and chop off as little as possible while they're dry. And while they're dry, empty them out. And carry on until they are all done. Now we're going to need 1 onion. Now its cookbook says yellow onion. Well, I'm using a sweet Walla Walla onion. That's still in season, friends. Okay, and we only need half of this. Alright, let's peel it. Let me cut off that root. And we're not going to dice this up, but we're going to cut it in little strips. This is going to get boiled. Or not boiled. It's going to get steamed with our Guajillo chilies. And if I call these Ancho chilies earlier, my apologies. I was having a hell of a time trying to find Ancho chili powder. I ran through everywhere trying to find Ancho chili powder. But I found a substitute. I'll get more into that later. So, we have our Guajillo chilies and our onion. Half of our onion. Now let's steam these guys up. Now you're going to want a pot of a good medium size that has a lid. So we just want to pour in a little bit of water, maybe about an inch, like an inch deep. We do not need much. Let's get that heat on. Let's try and get this to boil as quickly as possible. Alright guys, I was reading through his recipe book and it says to add 1 teaspoon of minced garlic in with the Guajillo chilies. So that's what I'm working on now. Peel, cut off the root end. Let's get our teaspoon. Let me tell you guys something though. Everything I've made from Kent Rollins out of his cookbook thus far, absolutely delicious. All right, I got my 1 teaspoon, more than a teaspoon of garlic. In my opinion, you can't over garlic things. So back to the pot. We are now beginning to boil. Let's add in our chilies. Let's turn that heat down. And let's add in our onion. I cut these things up very large. Let's give that a mix. Oh my goodness, it already smells delicious. And we'll let these guys steam for about 5 minutes. Maybe more. It says to let it steam until the Guajillo chilies become tender. Like I said, we're going to steam them, not boil them. Alright guys, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's add our minced garlic in. It don't want to come out, man. Let's just mix that in with that water, just so the flavors can infuse. Wow. Everything's already getting super soft. The chilies are more pliable. The onion is even falling apart. I can't believe how quick this is working. Alright, we're going to go 5 more minutes. Alright guys, it's been about another, I'd say about 7-8 minutes. Took a little while longer than expected to get these chilies nice and softened. But next, let's strain the water. We do not need the water. Alright, that water's out. Now at this point, if you want to take each chili and chop it up smaller, that's fine, because we're going to put it in the blender and it will give the blender less work. But since I have the Ninja, I'm just going to throw these in. That's still hot. I should have kept my spoon. All right. Well, let's get our garlic. We need 2 teaspoons. Here's 1 teaspoon, friends. And since I got 1 clove left, I'm just going to do that. Mince it. All right. We add the remaining sauce, which is 3 of these 8-ounce tomato sauce containers. Let's get that going. Let me know in the comments below. Do you guys shake up your canned sauces before you open them up? All right. Now we need 2 teaspoons of our Ancho chili powder. And to tell you guys the truth, I could not find it. So I found a substitute. I had to look it up online and I found a ground chili, New Mexico. Now I do have Ancho chilies, but it's not powder. And since my teaspoon is dirty, I'm going to use my half a teaspoon and throw in 4 of these guys. All right. Ancho chili powder's in. 1.5 teaspoons of regular chili powder. One teaspoon of ground cumin. All right, friends, that should be everything. And now, blend until smooth. That was about a 3-minute process. Woo-wee. It looks smooth. Well, let's take a look here, huh? Oh, this is very thick. Looks nice and smooth. Oh, that smells wonderful. Holy Toledo's, dude. All right. Now it says, strain the mixture back into the saucepan. Stir in chicken broth and simmer on medium-low for about 2 minutes. Stir occasionally. All right, let's get on that, friends. All right, it says to return this. I know it says to strain it, but I'm not going to do that. Oh yeah, this has liquefied this very well. Oh, we're not even done yet. That's already, woo! That's enchilada. Well, that is almost enchilada sauce. Now we need 1/3 a cup of chicken stock or broth. I used a bouillon cube, so that's going to add some nice salt to it. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, freshly ground black pepper. Not much though. Now let's turn this on till it begins to simmer. And make sure everything's mixed well. I did not add salt because I used a bouillon cube. But if you're using chicken stock or something that has low salt, taste it for salt and then add as you desire. Yeah, I do need a bit of salt. I thought that bouillon cube would do me well. All right, just a little bit of salt. Then we'll let this simmer for about 2 minutes once it gets up to temperature. But already, look how thick that sauce is. Wow. All right, guys. I simmered it for more like 5 minutes. Let's see how that. It's got a nice heat to it. It tastes like an enchilada sauce I've never had before. I have never made homemade enchilada sauce in my life. This is so far, delicious. Like, wow. So let's pull it off the heat and let's brown our ground beef. All right, folks. Our other half of onion. This is going with the meat. Chop off that knob, or as Americans call it, the root. Now let's just slice up these onions. I want them kind of fine. You can chop them however you want. But I want these things to kind of like blend with the ground beef. All right, half an onion sliced. Let's get the cast iron out, baby. All right, guys, let's heat up our cast iron. Medium-high heat. Got our ground beef. And the only seasonings the book says, salt and pepper. And I believe because the enchilada sauce, that is the star of the show. That, and we also have cheese to add. All right. All right, we have that chopped up now. Let it sit until it browns well. Do not stir it. Do not touch it. Just let it brown.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, been letting this sit for about a couple minutes, letting it brown. And if I didn't mention it, guys, my apologies. You want 1 pound of ground beef. But now that our beef is beginning to brown, according to the book, we should add in our onion. And it also says to add in the green hatch chilies. It says nothing about draining it. Oh, those hatch chilies smell great. Mm-mm-mm. All right, now I guess we cook this until the onions get nice and tender. And chop up that ground beef as it cooks, friends. The trick with ground beef, if you got a good potato masher, you can use that to mash your ground beef to be real fine. But if you don't have one, just like myself, I mean, I got one of these potato mashers, but that's not going to work for ground beef. You want one that looks like this. And if you do, then you can just mash it up. But if you're like me and you don't, as your ground beef cooks, you can find the big chunks and just break it apart. But I'm going to continue cooking this on high medium heat until most of this water is evaporated out.
Later.
Alright guys, a lot of this water is out. I'm going to add my salt and my pepper. Alright guys, most of this water is out. I believe now the rest of it is grease. So, let's turn that off. Let it cool down. Wait a minute. I didn't even taste it. I gotta make sure the salt and pepper is proper. Look at that. I would have screwed up. Pepper's great. It does need more salt though. This is why it's important. You have to taste as you cook. You do all of this work, and then let's say it's under seasoned. Well, it's not like you can open up an enchilada and then season it, close it back up, all that after it's cooked. Because we're adding cheese onto this, friends, and that cheese is going to seal this thing up, and that enchilada is going to be hot. All right, let's try that out now, huh? Perfect. Wow. Night and day difference, friends. All right. Let's pull this off. Let it cool down. And while it cools down, we're going to shred some cheese. Make sure you don't cut your cheese, because if you cut your cheese, then, well, your friends and family might want to run. All right, folks, I got a little bit of cheddar cheese right here from my last meal. Not much left, but I pulled out a new block. And if you guys don't know what low moisture mozzarella is, it's right here. I grab the whole milk. There is like part skim milk, full skim milk, but just make sure you find it where it says, where does it say that? Ah, it says it right here, low moisture. Okay. Now grab a big bowl because we need 3 cups of our cheddar cheese. And yes, I'm using the big holes. Go big or go home. That's what she said. But anyways, friends, just great. We need 3 cups of this. All right, guys, I have about a cup here. Just going to throw it in my bowl. And then I'm going to start on the mozzarella because this has to be mixed either way. So why not layer it? Little moisture. And we only need about a cup of this. So we're not going to add that, or we are not going to grate that much at once. Look at that, though. Gorgeous, right? Tastes delicious, too. Mozzarella, man. Delicious. Just give that a nice little mix. Oh, I'm spilling it all over the place. Go figure, eh? All right, let's go back to the cheddar now. All right, y'all. Now after my layers of cheddar, mozzarella, I'm adding even more cheddar. And in between all those layers, I mixed them all up. Just to make sure they're mixed well. All right, friends. Grab a 9x13 casserole dish. This is bigger than that. That's okay. I'd rather have it be too big than not big enough. So, with our enchilada sauce, let's just pour enough in here just to coat the bottom. We do not need much. All right, we got our cheese, we have our meat, and our casserole dish, folks. And flour tortillas. Now I went and I got the soft taco flour kind. Kent Rollins' book says to use corn, but then I watched his video on YouTube and he said to use flour. So I went with what he did on the video. Oh, and why is that? Let me show you what non-warmed corn tortillas do. Let's get that flour out of the way. So here's your corn tortilla. Try and wrap that up. breaks apart. So you would have to warm this through before you even wrapped it. That's an extra step. I guess I could have done that. Regardless. Oh, and during this process too, heat your oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Because by the time we're done wrapping these things all up, it'll be time to bake them. And so about a third of the way down of the tortilla, just put your meat down there. All right, there's our meat. Let's add some cheese. You can add as much cheese as you want or as little as you want. Then we're just going to wrap this up. Make sure you tuck it in. And now when you place this down in your pan, make sure the seam side is down. I got fillings falling out, man. I need to stuff that in, huh? Seam side down, friends. And now I will carry on for the rest of these guys. Let's add in our cheese. And place these guys seam side down. Now, I don't know if my tortillas are that large, but it only made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It made 6 enchiladas. Maybe I overstuffed them. The book says it's going to make about 12. So I'm pretty sure I overstuffed them. So we put a little layer of sauce underneath. Let's take our remaining sauce and just pour it over. And yes, we're going to do the rest. Make sure everything's covered, friends. Everything's covered. We want this beautiful enchilada sauce that just, oh my gosh, I can't explain it. It's fresh. Take your favorite canned enchilada sauce and multiply that by like 1,000. It is that good. And now we bake for about 25 minutes.
A few moments later.
All right, friends, we baked it for about 25 minutes. And now we want to make sure our tortillas are fork tender. Oh yeah. Woo, hot. So after that 25-minute bake, got to scoop our cheese up. All right. Back in the oven it goes for 5 minutes. So we want the enchiladas in for about 5 minutes or just until the cheese is melted. All right, friends, enchiladas are done. And I'm going to take some of this beautiful red sauce that we made. And I'm going to go ahead and pile this on up. Yes, sir, I am. Just tasting that sauce, I fell in love. Let me tell you something. Cowboy Kent Rollins, he has something special with this enchiladas, friends. I'd call that 10 out of 10. That's beautiful. Smells delicious. Well, this smelled so good. My friend came out of her cave and she's like, "Can I have a couple of those?" I'm like, "Of course. I'm not going to eat all of this. Look at that cheese pull. Oh, baby, does that look good." All right, y'all. Now, I was born, but I was not born yesterday. I know to let this sit and cool down before I burn my taste buds out and I can't taste this no more. All right, guys, we have finished Kent Rollins' beautiful enchiladas. They smell amazing. These have been sitting for about 10 minutes. Let me tell you, these were piping hot. Oh, cheesy, ooey gooey goodness, my friends. I'm taking a big bite. Let me tell you, took the best enchilada you ever ate at the fanciest restaurant, times that by 10. This 10 out of 10, hands down. There's not much to it, but this is what you call simplicity at its best. The flavors meld together beautifully. If you serve this at your own restaurant, I guarantee you, the seagulls will come flocking just to eat these enchiladas alone. Cowboy, thank you for this recipe. This is absolutely delicious. I will be making this again and again. And this belongs, my friends, to the Clean Plate Club. That sauce, it's beautifully thick. It's not thick like tomato paste, a little bit more thin, but it's got some body to it. It really coats your enchiladas. It's not like that canned stuff. Nice and thick. It's got some spice to it too. It's not overly spicy, but it's got a beautiful kick. Just enough to let your tongue know, like, hey, I'm still here. And then the meat all depends on how you cook it. I cooked mine well brown until most of the moisture was out. I was spot on good. And the cheese, just cheese and enchiladas. Come on, how can you go wrong with that? And here, this is the last bite. 2 enchiladas that were about the size of burritos. I had to scrape up that sauce from the plate. If I didn't do so, that'd be a crime against humanity. So guys, what did I think about the Cowboy Kent Rollins homemade red sauce enchiladas? Without a doubt, literally the best enchiladas I've ever had in my entire life. And I love Mexican food, and that should say a lot. I will stop buying the canned stuff. I will no longer get it at a restaurant. This, hands down, 20 out of 10. It's got the perfect spice. I mean, you feel the heat, but you're not going to be sweaty. You're not going to be like, oh, this is too hot. Perfect amount of spice. Those Guajillo Chilies. And I couldn't believe how simple enchilada sauce truly is. Yes, it's time consuming, but it is worth it 120%. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, hit that thumbs up. Comment down below. Follow me. And make sure your notifications are turned on so you know when I have a new episode. Thanks, friends.